So imagine you're watching One Piece at home, until suddenly this happens.
本気で口止めしたきゃ俺を消せる場面は何度もあった。
だって
No, this isn't some Mandela effect, because I'm sure no one remembers Smoker joining the Straw Hats. But what if he did? What would happen if Smoker really did join the Straw Hats on Punk Hazard? How would it affect the rest of the series? And what would be different? In this video, we're gonna find out. First, let's discuss how this would even be possible. So how would this situation happen? Well, in this alternate timeline, after Smoker sees Luffy save the children from Caesar, he takes some time to reflect, and he realizes that Luffy was never a bad person. Smoker remembers back to Alabasta when Luffy saved him, and he wonders if it really is possible for a pirate to be good. Out of intrigue and curiosity, Smoker asks to join Luffy's crew, so he can learn about him and the type of person he is. Smoker tells Tashigi about this as well, and she's speechless. She can't believe Smoker would betray the Marines, and she says she'll never talk to him again. When Luffy accepts him into the crew, the rest of the Straw Hats are speechless too. Zoro is especially annoyed because he feels like Luffy's just letting anyone into the crew at this point. And he tells Smoker that just because Luffy trusts him, it doesn't mean that he ever will. None of the other Straw Hat members trust Smoker either, of course, other than Luffy and Chopper, who feels bad for him. None of the Straw Hat members feel comfortable interacting with Smoker early on. So as they leave Punk Hazard, most of the time Smoker sits alone on the ship, wondering if he made the right decision to join. After you hear this, you might feel really bad for Smoker, but don't worry, he just needs some time to bond with the rest of the crew. Now that Smoker has joined our crew, it's time to do some power scaling and see where he fits compared to the rest of the members. This is going to be controversial, but during Punk Hazard, Smoker would be below Luffy and slightly above Zoro and Sanji in terms of power. So instead of the monster trio, it would become the monster duos, with Luffy and Smoker being the two strongest and Sanji and Zoro right behind. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, narrative-wise, what would happen? At this time, having Smoker as part of the crew is a huge help, because he's a powerhouse compared to most of the other members. As for Tashigi, she decides to go with the children to Vegapunk's lab. She vows to train and become a vice admiral so that she can one day catch Smoker. Now, after our crew has been sailing for a bit, it's time to move on to the next arc. The Straw Hats finally arrive at Dressrosa, and now have to split into groups. Now, there's a few groups that Smoker could split into. He could go with Luffy's group, but that would pose some issues. For one, in the bar scene, Fujitora would look extremely surprised if he sensed Smoker's presence, because he knows Smoker well. To avoid that awkwardness, let's make it so that Smoker goes with Law's group, which if you don't remember, consists of Robin, Law, and Usopp. Smoker will still eventually meet Fujitora, but in a much more interesting way rather than in the bar with Luffy. So the rest of the story goes on like normal in Dressrosa, while Smoker's group goes to Greenbit to deliver Caesar to Doflamingo. So like in the main story, Robin and Usopp explore the island and end up underground. But this time, Smoker stays with Law and Caesar, and this is when Doflamingo and Fujitora confront them. As I said before, Fujitora and Smoker know each other, so things are about to get interesting. Seeing Smoker fight alongside Law against Doflamingo, Fujitora's sense of justice tells him that he needs to save his friend, because he knows that Doflamingo would kill him. Fujitora knows that Smoker wouldn't join the Straw Hats without a good reason, so he decides to help them in defeating Doflamingo. The combined power of Law, Smoker, and Fujitora all teaming up on Doflamingo makes Doflamingo realize that he's outmatched. Seeing that he can't win, Doflamingo tries to escape, but that's when Sanji arrives. While he stalls Doflamingo with his kick, Fujitora delivers the final blow and knocks Doflamingo out. Fujitora turns around and tells Smoker that he didn't expect him to join with pirates, and Smoker said he never expected it either. While the two catch up, the other Straw Hats on the Thousand Sunny arrive as well. Everyone is cautious that an admiral's on the island, but Fujitora reassures them that he's gonna turn a blind eye to this since they helped take down Doflamingo. Fujitora says that he'll have to find a way to explain the situation to the other admirals, but for now he's gonna transfer Doflamingo to Impel Down. Before leaving, Fujitora says that they should leave Dressrosa within a couple of days because the Navy would be coming to investigate what Doflamingo was up to. With Doflamingo out of the picture, the crew begins planning on how they'll defeat the rest of Doflamingo's crew. They all decide to go to the Colosseum where Luffy is, and at this point it's basically a cleanup job to get rid of the rest of Doflamingo's crew and free Dressrosa. After all of Doflamingo's crew is defeated, the Big Mom pirates attack Dressrosa because they want to capture Sanji and Caesar. However, they're unsuccessful because Luffy's there to protect his crew, and he defeats Beji while Sanji and Zoro fight Tamago and Peckham's. The Big Mom ship leaves after getting defeated, and now the Straw Hats move on to their next island. After this is all over, you might have realized that there are some consequences that come from this alternate reality. The first is that Luffy never unlocks Gear 4, which he used to take down Doflamingo in the first place. And the second is that the warlords are never disbanded, because Doflamingo was captured before he used the birdcage on the citizens of Dressrosa. In terms of existing warlords, Weevil still replaces Doflamingo like in the original story. These changes are going to cause some problems down the line, but let's not worry about that for now and move on to the next island. The whole crew arrives at Zao, and even though they don't need to rescue Sanji anymore, they still need to travel to Whole Cake Island to get to Big Mom's poneglyph. And since it's a recon mission, half the crew decide to go to Wano like in the original story. That leaves Luffy, Smoker, Zoro, Brook, Nami, Chopper, Pedro, and Carrot to go to Whole Cake Island. They decide to take Zoro instead of Sanji because Sanji will be a bigger target on the island. On Whole Cake Island, not much would change initially, except for the fact that they don't have to split up to go rescue Sanji, and that they have Smoker with them now. Since everyone is focused on finding the road poneglyph, they find it pretty easily, and that's when they encounter some trouble. Big Mom had a feeling that the Straw Hats would be coming for a poneglyph, so she put some of her commanders in charge of defending it. The crew starts to fight against Perospero, Cracker, and Katakuri. This is a hard fight for the Straw Hats, especially since Luffy doesn't have Gear 4 at this time, but the fact that Zoro and Smoker are there is enough to hold back the commanders while Brook sneaks through and takes a copy of the poneglyph. After getting the poneglyph, the crew starts to escape, while Big Mom goes on a rampage after finding out they took it. Luckily, with the help of Jinbei, the crew is able to escape Whole Cake Island and go to Wano. By the way, one of the perks you get from being a Straw Hat is that you level up much faster than other characters in One Piece, so that's why Smoker's strong enough to hold back commanders with Zoro and Luffy. In Wano, they reunite with the rest of the crew, and not much else would change in this arc until the final battle against Kaido. So during the battle at Onigashima, Smoker helps defeat King and Queen, along with Who's Who, Altai, and Page 1. At this point in the story, Smoker has mastered his Haki and is comparable to Zoro and Sanji in terms of strength, so any fight that they get into, Smoker can handle as well. Meanwhile, Luffy's fighting against Kaido, and he finally unlocks Gear 4. But since he still doesn't have Gear 5 at this point, there's no way that he can win. While this is happening, Kid and Law defeat Big Mom, but there's still no one on the island that can beat Kaido. Luckily, Shanks' ship is sailing right next to Wano, and Ben Beckman asks Shanks what they should do about the situation. Shanks decides to intervene and tells him they need to go stop Kaido from killing Luffy. So as everyone lies on the battleground, defeated by Kaido, the red-haired pirates arrive. Kaido is enraged that Shanks is here, and he instantly goes into attack. But since he's already weakened, Shanks easily dodges his strike. Shanks fights back, and the red-haired pirates watch as Shanks unleashes his advanced Conqueror's Haki. Kaido tries to fight back, but he's too worn out, and after only a few minutes, Shanks defeats him. The war has many casualties, and as Luffy lies on the ground, at the edge of his vision he can see Shanks walking away. "What about Luffy?" asks Beckman. "It looks like it's not time for him to meet us yet," Shanks says. After the red-haired pirates leave, they scare off Admiral Green Bull on the Wano mainland, and after a few hours the Straw Hats eventually recover. After all that's over, Luffy realizes that he needs to get much stronger before he can face Shanks. As for the new emperors after Kaido and Big Mom, Buggy can't become one because he's still a warlord, so we need a new emperor other than Luffy. The obvious choice now is either Law or Kid, but they're too evenly matched for only one of them to become emperor, and they don't have enough influence. The only pirate with enough influence and power to become an emperor at this point is Katakuri, because he has Big Mom's territory and her crew as well. Dragon could be an emperor too with the influence he has, but he's not a pirate, so that rules him out. Overall, Smoker joining the Straw Hats would create a ripple effect and change a lot of things in the story, but the final outcome is similar either way. One thing's for sure though, Smoker must have been smoking something different for him to ever join the Straw Hats. Also guys, this is where I'm gonna have to start plugging my Twitter account since I'm gonna have some polls there for future videos. And I'll also be answering DMs if anyone has any specific video ideas. The link's in the description if you want to follow. With that said, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.